What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Leon from Leon Talks TV. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I want to talk about something that might surprise you. New studies shows that young male virginity is on a rise. But before we look into this, now you have to understand that if we take a trip back to memory lane around the 2000s, you see, back then, only about 10% of guys under 30 were going on an entire year without having any sort of bedroom fun or bedroom activity. Now, fast forward to today, and that number has tripled to about 28 to 31% for men aged 18 to 30 plus. The number of young men in their early 20s who are still virgins has also doubled to around 10%. But here's the kicker. This isn't about guys choosing to be celibate or going monk mode. Surveys reveal that 89 to 90% of these guys feel sidelined by dating apps that favor a small percentage of attractive men, often referred to as the top 20% of Chads and Tyrones. On top of that, excessive corn use is frying their dopamine levels, and endless gaming takes away time that could be spent socializing. Economic pressure are also keeping many men of these young guys at home, trapped in their circumstances. You see, in the UK, the trends are similar, though not as drastic, indicating a growing sex recession affecting young men everywhere. This situation is creating feelings of frustration, isolation, and even anger amongst those left behind. So let's break it down. What's happening? Explore why these changes are affecting young men today. Chapter 1, the findings of the study. So let's delve into what the studies have found about young men and their sexual activity. Researchers discovered that many young guys today are feeling more socially isolated and are spending more time focused on digital entertainment. So this change is leading to fewer intimate relationships, and we're seeing one of the biggest shifts in behavior for this generation. Several important surveys like the General Social Survey and the National Survey of Sexual Health and Behavior show some eye-opening results. For instance, the number of young men reporting that they haven't had sex in the past year has increased sharply since around the year 2000. Additionally, there's a smaller group, but still significant, of young adults, men who say they never had sex, or in other words, are still virgins. One recent study found that the rate of male virginity has nearly doubled for US men in their early 20s and early 30s between the mid 2010s and early 2020s. Another study published in JAMA Network Open, which looked at data from 2000 to 2018, revealed that among men aged between 18 to 24, the percentage who reported non-sexual activity in the past year went up from about 19% to around 31%. We also see that men aged 25 to 34 are experiencing similar increases in sexual activity, while the frequency of sex, like having sex weekly or more, has actually declined. So what does all this mean? It highlights a significant change in the dating and sexual landscape for young men today. With more guys feeling isolated and turning to screens for entertainment, we need to consider how these trends are affecting relationships and intimate connections. Chapter 2, why young men are staying virgins longer. So let's delve into some major reasons why young men today are staying virgins longer than in the past. A lot has changed in our world, and several factors are contributing to this trend. First, one major contributor is that young men aged between 18 to 25 rarely approach women in person. Around two-thirds, 66 to 70%, report never or hardly ever doing so, per UK survey. Due to low confidence, 46% cite it as a top barrier, and fear of rejection in a post-Me Too era, especially where there are a lot of women nowadays going online and recording themselves being chatted up by guys while displaying their disgust for men approaching them and posting it online for these men to be shamed and outed in the comments on certain posts, especially certain posts that can end up on major blog pages. A lot of these young men today are terrified of being outed for approaching a woman they like, if it results in them going viral for cold approaching a woman for the wrong reasons. And there's a digital distraction to play as well, which plays a big role. Guys are spending excessive time watching corn, playing video games for hours upon hours, just stuck in their room and laying in bed all day scrolling through their social media. On average, guys spends 2 to 3 hours a week on corn alone, which has had a major effect on men, an unrealistic imaginary of what intercourse is really like for civilians and corn actors. And with the emergence of AI and chatbots, more people are interacting less with other humans. Rather, people are choosing to interact with AI chatbots because it's a lot safer to do so. Chatbots are not going to judge you for being you. Additionally, people are becoming more comfortable with interacting with chatbots, which will probably raise among young men as well. So, the digital overload takes away time from real life interactions and can desensitize how we experience pleasure. You see, leading to unrealistic expectations about relationships from what they see online. Next up, we have economic pressure. More young men are living with their parents longer, and rent and mortgage prices are getting higher and higher, which means young men can't afford to move out and get their own flat. As a result, they have nowhere to bring a lady back for some privacy. And also they face job uncertainty, especially with the rise of AI and the predictions that most jobs will be replaced by AI in the future, which practically replaces the man as the provider role and as the leader in the household. This shift makes it harder for them to date. Additionally, men today are drinking less alcohol, which used to fuel many casual hookups. In the past, about 60 to 70% of casual encounters happened while out partying, and nightlife as a whole is declining rapidly, with plenty of clubs shutting down. Nightclubs have become more of a popularity contest with VIP sections and people posting on social media. So it's not about dancing and enjoying yourself. It's all about taking pics and posting it on your gram to show people that you're living a lavish lifestyle. So it's no longer about meeting new people. So that ends up not being the case anymore. Then there's the issue of mental health. Many young guys deal with social anxiety, low self-esteem, and feeling of isolation. Research shows that 20 to 40% of young men are affected by these problems, and dating apps can make things worse as they often favor a select few attractive guys in the matchmaking process. Cultural changes are also influencing this trend. We're seeing a shift towards later marriages, less pressure to have sex at a young age, and a stigma around virginity, especially in certain communities. This means many men are delaying sexual experiences and long-term relationships. Chapter Why is so important. So this indicates that many young men are struggling to reach important life milestones like finding partners and starting families. Unlike previous generations where around 80 to 90% of young men had sex by the ages of 20 to 25, today's trend shows that technology-driven isolation is playing a big role. So this change risks lower birth rates, which are already on the decline, and weakens social connections in our communities. Chapter The Dark Side If Unchecked. Now let's look at the darker side of this prolonged inactivity. Many young men, about 20 to 40%, are experiencing rising levels of depression, anxiety, and stress due to unmet intimacy needs. Feeling alone and unwanted can decrease self-worth and lead to isolation. Socially, we're also seeing a widening gap between the genders. Women are reporting having more partners, which may create feelings of resentment among men. Studies show that as men grow older without mastering the skill needed for real relationships, they may feel frustrated and face negative emotional consequences like regret or feeling judged by peers. Chapter Anger and frustration risks. Another key point to consider is that anger and frustration that can arise from being inactive. Evidence links this situation to feeling of anger among men, especially in what known as involuntary celibacy or incel communities. These groups often amplify disappointment stemming from dating apps, inequalities, and unrealistic expectation from corn. Surveys reveal that sexually inactive men are twice as likely to report distress in their relationship or feeling of hostility. Mental health data indicates that this abstaining from sexual relationships can worsen mood, particularly for those beyond adolescence, where many report increased partner anger or negative reputations for not being active. Chapter The future outlook. Looking ahead, if these trends continue, experts predict that by 2030, 30 to 50% of men under 30 could be sexless. This could lead to deeper divides within society, such as more people living alone, delaying families, and pushing some individuals towards more radical views. On the flip side, there could be some positive outcomes as well. More focus on self improvement, like hitting the gym or advancing in careers, could arise if properly channeled. But we'll see how that works out. We might also see policies shifts aimed at enhancing mental health support, reducing screen time, and encouraging real social interaction. These efforts could help prevent a frustrated, lost generation of men and promote healthier relationships overall. Many studies show that men who choose not to engage in sexual relationships may experience lower moods and higher feelings of sadness or frustration. This is especially true for men who are older and no longer in the teenage years. They often feel pressure from society to be sexually active, and when they aren't, they may feel negative judgments from others. This can lead to feeling of anger towards potential partners and contribute to a sense of isolation. Overall, the combination of these factors can negatively impact their mental health and well-being. It's important to understand that these experiences are common and that open conversations about relationship and mental health can help support those who are struggling. Chapter, my opinion. To be honest with you, this is very common. And a lot of people might not think how common this is amongst men. And there is a growing large amount of men that are not interacting with women whatsoever. But I get it. I can't imagine. And the crazy thing is, I can't imagine young male adults, especially males in their 20s. Because here's the thing: if I look back at my own life, right, I lost my virginity when I was like 16. And even then, it was a lot. It was a lot of pressure to lose my virginity because back then it was crazy how people expected you to lose your virginity when you were like 14 or even as low as 13 years of age. But then a lot of young kids were very advanced and quick to grow, I guess. But then there's a part of me that kind of thinks some people were lying about breaking their virginity at such a young age. But that's another story. However, I remember telling one of my friends that I was still a virgin when I was about 15 years old because technically, well, legally, I wasn't even old enough to get some bedroom fun back then. So I didn't even think it was a big deal that I was still a virgin. But lo and behold, it was a big deal. I remember telling my friend, and he was shocked, surprised. He even ended up telling my other friend, which made it even a bigger deal. And it was such a big deal, to the point where when you get into an argument with your friends, all they have to do is mention that you're a virgin and it just shuts the whole argument down. So this was when I was around 15, 16 years old. So the pressure was a lot back then. But I will say this, if it's something that is bothering you, because I did say that men do need to have experience with women because you need to be out there and have dates and experience with women. Because by the time you work on yourself and tick all the boxes, feeling secure in your life, and finally you get that girl. If it's your first girlfriend in your 30s, you may end up getting taken advantage of by that person. She may take you for granted, especially if she's beautiful, because you're likely to put her on a pedestal and constantly appease her. When she's in the wrong, she'll be right because you don't want to upset her due to the lack of abundance mindset. You feel like you have to put her on a pedestal and you won't know what it feels like to actually be wanted by women or to have women have a burning desire for you. Now, you could get lucky and meet that one girl right off the bat and she does everything right. But for the most part, a lot of guys don't seem to get it right the first time when it comes to picking the right woman, especially who don't have experience. And if you don't have experience, you're going to end up having bad experiences because of that lack of experience. I get it. For some people, it can be a religious thing and they want to wait until marriage. This is usually considered more so for women, but for some men are into that as well. I mean, it is what it is at the end of the day, right? Personally, I would say if you're feeling stuck and frustrated because you're not getting any play, take the time to work on yourself. You have to do all the things like going to the gym, working on your body and losing body fat and learn how to make money by grinding and learning skills related to your career or your entrepreneurship, as well as learning about women. If you don't have experience with women, learn about them. There are plenty of videos out there that provide good guidance on how to deal with women and what to look out for and what to avoid. But however, like I said, experience is his best teacher. So at the end of the day, just go out there and go through your trial and error. And then work on becoming more attractive to women, which falls under the rule of looks maxing. However, this doesn't mean I'm talking about extreme looks maxing. I'm just talking about natural looks maxing. That's what I would advise. Conclusion. In summary, the rise of young male virginity reflects a lot of factors, including technology and economic pressure that are shaping modern relationships. This is a significant shift that many of us should pay attention to, as it speaks to how our world is changing. Thanks for joining me today. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. Let's chat in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Until next time, and salute.